What's going on, guys? David Falla here, and today we're gonna do a mid fade with a 3.5 on top, which is equivalent to a number 3 in like a regular lever clipper, and we're gonna do a skin on the bottom. So first, we're gonna go ahead and start with a number 3.5 on top, or how I said, you can also use a number 3 with the lever closed. Detachable blades tend to cut a little shorter, in my opinion, than like a regular clipper. So the 3.5 will be equivalent to a 3 with the lever close. So we're gonna go ahead and pass that on the way on the top. Just make sure you pass it all the stick grain. So you cut everything, and then make sure that it's all even. The worst thing you can do with a haircut like this is kind of leave some of those hairs long. You know what I mean? Because in reality, you don't have to do much on top. You just have to make sure it's all even, and that's about it. After we're done with this step, we're gonna go ahead and grab the 5 zeros or the outliner or your trimmer or the machine with a lever closed, whatever you guys want to use, and we're gonna go ahead and use this to create a first guideline. The first guideline is important just because this kind of dictates how the fade is going to look, right? So this is a mid fade, so we kind of want to do it like kind of separate the head into two, to say it like that. We're going to ride the tempo, we're going to create the first guideline. I mean, that's the way I do it. Everybody does it differently, but this is my way. So that's this. Here I have a diagram showing you exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to create a first guideline, then we're going to do another guideline with a lever open. We're going to create another guideline with number 2, and then the 3 is on top already. So we're just going to blend those guides. That's pretty much all we're gonna do on this haircut. It's, if you look at it like this, it's kind of simpler, and it kind of easier to understand. So it's important that you use whatever you have. Sometimes I always use my Supra to do this step to kind of take out all the hair, like with the zero when I'm gonna skin a haircut. And honestly, like a lot of you, I don't have the Supra to do this, blah blah blah. You don't have to use the Supra. You can use your trimmer. You can use the machine that you have with the lever closed. You can use whatever. Just because I use a Supra doesn't mean you have to get a Supra. For the next step, I want to make sure that it's all skin, so I'm going to use electric shaver. Some people kind of like using a razor instead. That's fine too. You use what you like. The bottom line is you want to make sure that the bottom is shaved. That's all, right? Because we're trying to create a nice transition from shave to whatever number on top, right? So as long as it's shaved, you'll be okay. Also, you don't have to shave it. Some clients don't like it completely shaved. They just like it with the zero of the machine, and that's fine. You can just go ahead and do that. I remember when I started cutting, like I was scared of using the razor, so I will just use my electric shaver kind of pretty much to do everything that I could, like skin or shave everything that I could, because I was scared of using the razor, right? So use whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. A tip that I think is going to help you is how you can see I'm leaving a little gap between the skin line and the zero line that I made before, right? This little guideline is going to help me kind of create that nice blend. So that's just a tip. I want to just make sure you leave that space there. So you can see now I'm using my trimmer or my TL liner in this case, and I'm kind of blending that little guideline that I made there. How I said, I think this is an important step just because sometimes you kind of like, if you go with the shaver too high, you might have a line there, you might leave it there, and then it's hard to take off after, right? And then if that happens, you're gonna have to raise the fade more, and we don't want to do that, right? So there's many ways to remove that line. How you can see in this case, what I'm doing is that first I kind of hit the line with a trimmer, and if that didn't remove it, then what I do, I grab the shaver again, but in that case I move it the opposite way, right? I was fading from bottom to top. Now in this case I'm kind of erasing the line top to bottom. So if you use the shaver on the opposite way, the opposite direction, that's what I mean, you're gonna be able to erase whatever line you're trying to remove. For the next step, we're going to create a second guideline. This is going to be with the lever open on the machine. If you use detachable blades, you can use a number 1 as well. And just make sure you make this guideline like a little thick. The reason why is because a lot of barbers make the first guideline very thin, and then they have a hard time erasing the skin line, right? So for the most part, depending on the fade, For the most part, I always make my guideline like maybe like half an inch to an inch, depending on how spread out I want the fade. In this case, I mean, we want a mid fade, so it's not gonna be as spread out as maybe with like a high fade. But you know, like you can make it. In this case, I made it kind of like half an inch, or say like that. And then when you're done making that guideline, we're gonna start erasing it right away. I think this is easier for many barbers just because you kind of removing that harder line that is for everyone. So pretty much what you do is that you start closing the lever little by little, and you know, little by little you start closing the lever and you start erasing that line. Just make sure you use like a C motion type of like movement with your wrist. Just go that this is gonna avoid you kind of creating another line, right? And if you can see like this, the MV, reason why I like using it is because it has like a curved bevel blade, which for this is easier to erase. To be honest with you guys, I don't like the flat straight blades. I like this type of blades because to me it makes it easier to do fades, to do blowouts, to do like every haircut pretty much. But that's just my opinion. I wanted to make this video kind of like how I actually cut at the shop, so I'm gonna use all detachables. In this case, we're gonna use a 2 3/4, which in reality is kind of like a 2 1/2, so it'll be like a 2, not like a number 2 with the lever open, right? So that's exactly what it is, right? I mean, how I say, like, I want to use detachables just because that's what I really use at the shop. I don't use like plastic guards, to be honest with you. So I kind of wanted to do a video and show you guys how I really cut at the shop. And some of you have questions about detachables, and some of you think that it takes forever. And honestly, I can do this haircut like in good 20 minutes if you know, and that is not even like trying to like, you know, do it quick. So you know, it takes the same amount of time. So after you pass the 2 1/2, you can grab a number 2, which be the same thing as a number 2 plastic guard with the lever closed, right? And we're gonna go ahead and pass that the same way, just continue down fading. So pretty much what we're doing right now is that we have a number 3 on top, then we pass a 2 1/2, then we're passing a number 2, and pretty much we're just blending that line from the 3 to you know, the 0 that we made before, right? So you can see, you know, I go against the grain, and I just hit the same line that I'm trying to erase, that dark part, and then just, you know, continue down fading from there. Now we're gonna use a 1 1/2, and then you're gonna continue the same process. How you can see right now, you know, I don't go as high anymore as I was going at the beginning, right? So you know, with the first the 2 1/2 that I did, you saw me going all the way up, and then with a 2 a little lower, and now with this one is 1 1/2. I'm not going as high anymore, right? And then how you can see little by little, you start seeing that line that is being erased. One thing that I would want to mention is that because of the detachable blades being metal, sometimes your clients have like a little, maybe like a little bump, or like a little you know, like something on the skin. Sometimes the blade can pull it out, and you know, or so, you know, you just gotta be careful with that, with any imperfection on the skin pretty much. And then here we're gonna use a 1A. A lot of you always ask me about the 1A. A 1A pretty much is like a number 1 with the lever open. That's really what a number A is. And I know like some of you always ask me about this metal guard. Everybody wants to know what a 1A is, and that's what I'm saying. That's a 1A is just a number 1 with the lever open. That's really what it is. There's nothing special about it. Everybody thinks that it's just like a special blade that I use to do my fades, but it's not. It's just, you know, number 1, lever open, and that's it. How you guys can see, you know, I just continue you know, it's blending that line. This is down fading, so pretty much what it is that you start from the top and then you down fade to the skin, right? That's pretty much what it is. Now we're gonna go ahead and use a number 1, and then just continue with the same process. You know, you start blending, kind of using a little bit of how we'll say like a letter C motion, you know what I mean? So, you know, because you want to avoid kind of making more lines, right? So, and also, I mean, you might not be able to see it as good here, but I'm not using the full blade. I mean, it kind of looks like I am, but I'm not. I kind of like I kind of used one side or the other, right? So yeah, you try to use the corners a little more. I know because I'm doing it faster, you might not be able to notice this, but sometimes you don't need to use the full blade. You can just go ahead and use one of the sides, one corner, because it's gonna give you better like a easier way to blend whatever line you want to see, right? So right now, like, we're gonna go ahead and use again, that's the MV with the lever open, which is the first machine we use to create the second guideline, so we know the skin line. So then we're gonna go ahead and just do like a little touch up, right? Sometimes you might see like little lines, little things, the imperfections or whatever's on the face, so then you go ahead and you go back with the machines and perfect whatever you need to do. In this case, it's a mid fade, so we don't want to go too high, we don't want to spread out as much, because the client likes it like a little tight, so that's the way I'm doing it, And sorry about my voice, but if you guys are on the East Coast of the United States, you understand that it's allergy season, and honestly, the trees are kicking my butt at this time. So that's why my voice sounds the way it does. But anyway, let's continue. So here I wanted to show you guys a diagram just so you guys can see how the shaper is going to look. The client has like his forehead is a little more round than some others that have more like a flat forehead. So you kind of want to go with that round shape, right? You don't want to take the shape up just to make it straight, because it's gonna make it look weird, right? It's gonna change the shape of it. So the best advice that I have for all of you is just follow the guideline, like follow the hairline. Follow the hairline, follow whatever is already natural there. Just kind of use that as your guide, and then you shape it that way, right? That's the best way, the way that looks the best, right? How you can see in this client, he just has like that widow's peak in the front, and then we just, it's not a lot that you have to do, but you guys gonna see at the end how crispy it looks, and at the end of the day, that's all it matters. So the way I do is I start right in the middle, I create a guideline, and then I just move to the sides and kind of connect the line in the middle with the corners, and that's just the way I shape my foreheads. Just make sure you keep it natural. That's how I like doing them. Just keep it as natural as possible, and the regrow is way better. Then when you're done on one side, you go on the other side and kind of just do the same. Like your line in the middle shouldn't really move anywhere, because that was your first guideline, and you're just connecting the corners. And that's about it, guys. I use the mirror after. I always use the mirror, just make sure it's straight, because even though I already developed that vision that I can see if the forehead is straight or not, it doesn't matter. You use the mirror, you show the client, make sure they're happy with it, they like the way it looks. And after, just hit it with the razor just to make it extra sharp and detail those lines. And that's about it with the forehead. Something that we always do at the shop is we use a hot towel on every client. And many of you always ask me about like, oh, how can I increase my prices, how I can charge more, this and that. I think this is a great way. You're giving the client more value, you're giving the client a better service, and it's something that the clients will pay for. And if you want to increase your prices, then you have to increase your value, right? That's the best way to increase prices without losing those loyal clients that you have, right? You have to give them more than just the same haircut you've been giving them. So the extra services and the hot towel, there's many things you could do. So that's just a little advice there. So we're gonna use the razor to detail the whole shape up and the haircut. So pretty much what I do, how you can see, I stretch the skin. And if I don't stretch the skin, what I do is I tell the client to stretch the skin, right? Like, so if you're doing a beard, then you tell the client to stretch the skin, blow air into their cheek, or stretch the lip or whatever, just so it's easier for you to pass the razor. How you can see in this case, like I'm telling the client to kind of move the head to the side to stretch the skin, so it's easier for me to get there and behind the neck. When we go on the back, then he's going to look down, so it makes it easier because the skin is fully stretched there. Here I'm just detailing the shape up. I did apply a little bit of fibers on the hairline just because the client was going somewhere, so I put a little bit of fibers and just passing the razor now. And that's it. With fibers, I made a tutorial about fibers. If you didn't see, I'm going to leave the link in the description. But pretty much what I do is I apply a little bit of hairspray and then just apply the fibers and then apply hairspray after the shape up is done, just to kind of keep those fibers in. And like kind of just I do it just either if I'm taking a picture and I want the shape out to stand out, or if the client's going somewhere and they want to look fresh. And that's the haircut, guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. I think this is a fun way to do tutorials. I think this is my first full tutorial like this, so I kind of like it. I think it feels cool. I can actually talk to you guys. So don't forget to subscribe, like the video. Also, if you are not getting notification about the new videos, don't forget to click the little bell right there. And that's it, guys. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.